All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining me, um, spending your lunch with me, most likely. Glad to have you here. Today, we're going to talk about the health benefits of therapy gardens and indoor plants. Let's go ahead and get started. There we go. All right. So, quick agenda. We're going to do an introduction. We're talk about garden therapy, benefits of gardening, types of gardens, indoor plants, and then I have a few gift giving ideas since we're getting into that time of the year that I like to throw in at the end. And then I want to talk real quick about the organizations that make up my team here. We are the extension of UF IFAS, or the University of Florida Institute of Florida and Agricultural Sciences, and I'm located here in Pinellas County. There's a UF extension located in every county throughout the state. And I also work with Tampa Bay Water, who supplies water to the region. And my program is Florida Friendly Landscaping. So some of you may already be familiar with Florida Friendly Landscaping, but for those who are not, Florida Friendly Landscaping is focused on protecting Florida's natural resources by conserving water, creating wildlife habitat, reducing pollution and waste, and preventing erosion. And the idea behind Florida Friendly Landscaping is that everyone can have a Florida Friendly landscape that fits into their own personal taste and style. All right, let's jump in. So garden therapy or horticulture therapy is the practice of immersing people in plant or gardening activities to improve their bodies, minds, and spirits. Research confirms that people experience healthful benefits from being out in nature and by viewing or interacting with plants. Therapy gardens. Positive effects are not only achieved by working in the garden, but also the tranquil setting the garden provides for a place of healing and meditating. So let's discuss what those benefits are. First, we have our cognitive benefits. Encourage observation, increase knowledge, attain new skills, increase vocabulary, stimulate memory, increase attention span and focus. I know myself personally have benefited cognitively from gardening. I have learned so much new skills and knowledge just from my time being out in the garden. So this definitely rings true. You can also get social benefits. Sometimes when you're working in social situations, more like a community garden, this increases your communication skills and it increases your interaction within and outside of the group. This gives you a great icebreaker, something to talk about. Sometimes it's difficult to talk to others, and gardening can be a great way to interact with one another and have something in common. Emotional benefits increase feelings of self-worth and confidence and self-esteem, promote interest and enthusiasm, promote satisfy creative drive, and relieve aggression or tension. Sometimes taking care of something can be a great way to take care of yourself. So we can see those emotional benefits that can come with gardening as well. And as we age, some of these skills may decrease, and gardening can be a great way to keep skills sharp. So we definitely have physical benefits that come from gardening. It provides exercise, an increase in activities of daily living skills. It develops and increases fine and gross motor skills and increases eye-hand coordination. And finally, we have our lower blood pressure, lower heart rate, decrease in cortisol levels, and relieve stress. I know I definitely feel more restful once I've been out in the garden. There's something just about taking your time and really seeing what's happening out there, being part of nature. It is very calming. So I definitely can see these benefits as well. So there are all kinds of themes or focuses that you can take for your garden. You could go for something really eclectic or totally free, or just plant something that smiles, makes you smile, and brings you joy. So here are some garden types. It's just some suggestions of some gardens that I thought were kind of fun that I wanted to bring to your attention. Obviously, there are way more than just this. Sky's the limit. And really, it should be something that you find comfortable and relaxing. But like I said, I just wanted to bring up some different ideas for you. So creating a sanctuary garden in your landscape can provide you with a place to relax and escape the stresses of daily life. Sanctuary gardens serve as a place to meditate, reflect, or pray. So when you're creating your sanctuary, you want to think of creating a quiet space, somewhere that you can go and be away from the noise of the day and enjoy just sitting and being. You also want a shelter from the sun or the other elements. You don't want to worry about getting wet or getting too hot or a sunburn while you're trying to enjoy your blissful moment out in the garden. Make sure you have a comfortable place to sit. Calming water feature is always nice, but not necessary. I know I find the sound of water to be extremely relaxing. And then you want to use low maintenance plants in your garden. This is supposed to be relaxing, so we definitely don't want anything that's going to be high maintenance and take a lot of care. We want something that we can enjoy with a low maintenance plan. And fragrant plants are another great thing, bringing a little bit of aromatherapy into the mix. We're going to talk about that a little bit more coming up. And so another type of garden that we could talk about is a bog garden, which is similar to a rain garden, which you might have heard of those before. But bog gardens are in an area that have wet soil, but typically not standing water. These areas can prove to be problematic, but not if you choose the right plants. So bog gardens can be a really easy Florida-friendly way to utilize a wet and sunny location in your yard. When you're doing this, you want to think about the different levels of your plants, how tall they are. You want to make some vertical interest for your eye to look at. You want to think of a place that is sunny for 6 to 8 hours. And like I said, you want it wet, but no standing water. So ditches, a water runoff, or muddy areas can be great places to put a bog garden. And then here's some suggestions on plants. These are just a few. They're definitely not all and the only ones. We have arcana, hibiscus, blue iris, and we have buttonwood down here. And these are just a few examples. All right, so another idea for a garden is a cut flower garden. And that's a great way to enjoy the beauty of your flowers, not only outside, but inside as well. You can create an indoor sanctuary with some of these warm season flowers that look great in the landscape and in a vase. So we want to think of cut flowers more than just roses, because that's commonly what we think of when we think of cut flowers, usually in our house. And then this really allows you to enjoy the sights and scents indoors as well as outdoors. And once again, we've got some suggestions here. These are just some that I thought were pretty, and they're very easy to grow. But really the sky's the limit. So we've got our bird of paradise, a caladium, blanket flower, gerbera daisy, zinnia, all kinds of options here. They're all nice and bright and hardy and look really pretty in the landscape and inside your house as well. So scent is one of the strongest human senses. So surrounding ourselves with lovely aromas could add a new level of calming to our landscape. Some plants release their scents with the heat of the sun, while others bloom at night. Edible fragrance plants are options as well, such as tomato, citrus, and herbs. So you don't have to just do something that smells good. It could be something that you would like to eat as well. You could start really playing with these different themes of the gardens and mixing them up. We have some suggestions here. Once again, just a few suggestions. These are some of my favorites, so I thought I would share them with you. We have horse mint, gardenia, magnolia, star jasmine, and rosemary. And then, of course, you could do tomatoes, citrus, and other herbs if you wanted to go the edible fragrant route. Which brings us to moonlight gardens. So our gardens can be just as beautiful as night as they are during the day. These white and silver plants, they really seem to glow in that low light. And a lot of these plants are actually night blooming plants, so they have their fragrance only at night. These tend to be the favorites of our nighttime friend, the moth. And these are some beautiful examples right here. They've got the silver, whitish colors to them. They really do glow in the evening. When you're thinking about adding a moonlight garden to your area, soft lighting is another thing that you could incorporate if that is something you wanted. But just remember to keep it low and cozy. You don't want to disturb any of the nighttime creatures with anything that's too bright. And then we've got some examples here. Once again, these are just some of my favorites. Definitely not the one and onlys. So we've got water lilies, and those are daytime and nighttime blooming varieties. And you've got spider lily, Texas sage, the sacred thorn apple, and wormwood. And a fun fact, night blooming jasmine, moonvine, and angel's trumpet have scent only at night. So those are some that you could add into your landscape if you're trying to find something that's only fragrant at night. Excuse me. All right. And then we have edible foodscapes. That's another option. These are pretty and edible. They have form and function. Who said you can't be pretty and edible? These are definitely becoming very popular right now, edible foodscapes. It takes adding edibles into your existing ornamentals, and it makes it really, really pretty. Many edible foods are actually quite pretty, so they do make it look almost ornamental as well. I know this is something that we're changing at my house. We're trying to take out some stuff that's not necessarily Florida friendly or native, and we're putting in things that are edible. I think it's great, and it's great for our daughter. She can go out there and see how things grow and work and grow her own food. So this could be great and help feed you and your family at the same time. When doing foodscapes, though, I would highly recommend you practice caution when you're dealing with pest management. You want to use products that are labeled for vegetable gardening and edibles. And if you have a professional lawn care service, you want to make sure you're doing the same thing. You don't want to have pesticides put on your food that you might be ingesting. And then sensory gardens, you could take the elements of all these other gardens that we've talked about and create one garden for all the senses, something that appeals to all the senses, such as sight, touch, scent, hearing, taste. Sensory gardens can be any size and focus on all or any of the senses. So if we're talking about sight, we could see how things look, different textures, colors, shapes, sizes. Touch, there's different textures on leaves. Some are fuzzy, some are hard, some are slick. So touch, there's definitely different textures out there. Scent, we kind of already covered. You could do fragrant flowers, fruits, herbs, vegetables. For sound, you could think about maybe having some grasses and listening to the wind rush through those grasses. You could also listen to the noise of any animals that might be nearby or a water feature. And then for taste, we could always put in some of that edible landscape and do herbs, fruits, or veggies. Next, I'm going to talk about small area gardening, because not every one of us has a huge landscape that we're able to put in everything and anything we want. But that's okay. There's still plenty that you can do in a small area. So I'd like to talk about those as well. Balcony patio gardens. These can be a great option if you live in an apartment or condo, or if you're like me that has way too many plants and you need to expand out onto the patio because you just don't have any more room inside the house. But these are a great option, and there's really a lot you can do in just a balcony and patio space. But you want to make sure, if you are using that space, just like any other space, to assess the site's conditions, such as light, water source, the size that your plant is going to grow, if you are growing something on your balcony or patio, you probably want to be mindful of your neighbors. A lot of times those balconies or patios kind of butt up to one another. So you don't want a whole bunch of plants crawling onto someone else's space. Another thing you want to think about is the type of planter. There's all kinds of planters out there. Any kind will work, but I prefer self-watering planters. You can get those at pretty much any of the big box stores. They're great because you water them and then the water filters down to the bottom if there's too much when you put it in, and then the plant will use that water as needed over time. And then, of course, think outside of the box as for space. So don't just think about floor space. Think also about utilizing hanging baskets or trellises. That way you can really grow upward and not just limit yourself to the potted plants that you can put on the ground. All right, so indoor gardens, once again, right plant, right place applies just as much inside as it does outside. This is great for urban residents. You also want to take in those considerations like we talked about the patio gardens. You want to do the same thing for your indoor plants. You want to think about the lighting and make sure you have the correct lighting for your plant. You want to think about water. A great general rule is to check the soil by touching the topsoil. So when it's dry, give it some water. Plants like orchids, succulents, and ferns require different watering needs. So if those are the type of indoor plants that you are choosing, you kind of want to keep that in mind. You want to make sure you know what each plant requires, which is usually pretty easy. A lot of times those little tags that come on the plants tell you exactly what each plant needs. So it's just a matter of remembering. And then soil and nutrients. Houseplants may require different specialized soil mixes as well as nutrient requirements. You want to keep an eye on that as well. And then you want to keep in mind the growing size of your plants. I know a lot of the plants that they have in store are nice and small, but their full mature size are actually quite large. So you want to take that in consideration. Is that something you want that large in your house? Is it something you're going to constantly be maintaining with pruning? So that's something you want to think about. And also, a lot of these household or indoor plants, as we're going to call them, they tend to be invasive. So unfortunately, a lot of people will get a plant. It becomes way too large for the space that they had it for, and they'll put it outside, which can, the plant can just take off and overgrow everything around it because a lot of them are invasive. So keep that in mind. Maybe try rehoming it if you get a plant that's just too big instead of putting it outside. All right, so let's talk about houseplants. Here is a list of common houseplants. Caring for plants can help lower your blood pressure. Plants have a calming effect, and they can certainly brighten up any gray day. They can give off oxygen, and they can help clean your air, reduce dust, and absorb the chemical fumes given off by plastic. So indoor plants have a lot of benefits. So if you place houseplants where you spend the most time in your home or even your office, some of these are great for office. I have a couple of these in my office, actually. If you put them where you spend the most time, you'll reap the most benefits. This list is not exclusive. I just threw some on here that you could commonly find at local big box stores or some of your nurseries as well. But there are so many kinds of houseplants out there, and they're all just waiting for you to fall in love with them. So I just want to give you a little taste, and then maybe you can go out there and find the plant that is right for you. So in this picture, I put the rabbit foot fern, which is really fun. I have one of these at home. My daughter said it looks like tarantula legs. So this is definitely something that is unique and different looking, if that's what you're into. This is a very neat plant, and those legs are actually fuzzy. So it's very, very neat. So I like to call these house plants for the preoccupied gardener. Some of us, me included, tend to get a little preoccupied with other things and forget to maybe water our plants, but that's okay. These things happen. These plants on this list can take that. They are hardy. They're able to take a little bit of tough love. So I like to put these together. Once again, this is a short list, but these are all very common plants that you can find in stores. So some of those plants, we've got draping and vining. These do great. They are all air cleaning. First, we have the spider plant, which is great for hanging baskets. It removes airborne pollutants from the air. This one prefers bright to moderate and direct light year-round and average temperatures. It does like rainwater or distilled water, so keep that in mind. And this one's really fun because it's easy to propagate by removing and potting those little plantlets that come off. Next, we have the heartleaf philodendron. This is also great for hanging baskets or training it to grow and vine along a trellis. It too likes indirect sunlight, but beware because these are poisonous to pets. And then finally, we have pothos here. That's a very common one. It's great for baskets and vining as well. I actually have one of these in my office and get compliments on it quite often because it's taking over the top of my window. It's really neat. But this is a great plant that removes airborne pollutants from the air. This one is poisonous as well, just to keep in mind. And this one will quickly become out of control if you put it outside. So that's definitely one that needs to stay an indoor plant or be gifted to someone else if it becomes too much. I've actually cut off propagations of my plant for 2 people in the office so far, and there's a ton left, so I could propagate some more. So if you're in the building and you want some pothos, come by and see me. I can hook you up. All right, so each of these plants are a little more unique and provide their own fun and unique look. We've got bromeliads. Those do great indoor or on porches. They prefer more bright light, but not direct sunlight. They do not enjoy wet feet, so we want to make sure that we're not keeping those too wet. There are thousands of varieties, and we have 16 native species. And I don't know if anyone knows this, but our most recognizable bromeliad, Florida native bromeliad, is actually Spanish moss. I just think that's really neat because when you think of moss, you don't really think of bromeliads, and it's such a fun little fact. So you can share that with your friends. We also have the cactus, which is a fun plant that comes in, as we know, a variety of shapes and colors and sizes. They do prefer sunny location when they're indoors and should never sit in water. These are very slow growers. They typically grow about 1 inch a year. So if you don't see it moving too quickly, that's okay. That's how they grow. And also keep in mind that they do like to be somewhat root pot bounded. So they want those roots to be nice and tight. So as you can see, this, you might think, oh, this is a small pot for this cactus, but they actually like that. So keep that in mind. And then we have aloe, which is another fun one. It thrives great in poor soil with very little water. Most of us from Florida know this one because it's great for sunburns. It's also a great drought tolerant plant. All right, so a breath of plant air. Let's talk about those plants that take some of those chemicals and pollutants out of the air. It was initially researched by NASA, and it's proven that houseplants are quite good at removing some of the toxins that we commonly find indoors. It's not only the plant itself, but also the soil in the plant that can help with the air purifying. And then here's a list of some of the toxins that have been proven to be removed by indoor plants. And that is formaldehyde, benzene, acetone, ammonia, trichloroethylene, and carbon monoxide. So not only are our plants super pretty and cute and look nice and make us happy, they're also making us healthier by helping clean the air. So here is a very short list, but not exclusive list of plants that clean the air. We've got philodendrons, Chinese evergreen, aloe vera, spider plant, peace lily, and pothos. So that is just a quick little list of some plants that you could use to clean the air. We kind of went over the pothos and the spider plant. Those were the long vining type of plants. The peace lily, I think everyone is pretty aware of those. They're a pretty common one, and most people recognize those. They enjoy well-lit areas. You want to make sure you avoid overwatering those. Those a lot of times can catch dust on their leaves if you're using it as an indoor plant. So you might have to dust those off. I know it's kind of funny to dust your plant, but they do get a little dusty. So keep that in mind because they do have those big wide leaves. All right, so finally, here are a few holiday classics that are Florida friendly and can be enjoyed throughout the year. We're getting to be about that time of the year, so I thought I'd throw in a couple examples of some plants that could cheer up you or a family or friend, loved one, if you want to give a plant this year. So first we have poinsettias. They've got all kinds of other common names such as Christmas flower, Christmas star, lobster plant, painted leaf, and Mexican flame leaf. The showy, colorful part of the plant is actually the leaf, not the flower, and they're called bracts, and they serve to attract pollinators to the actual tiny flower that is in the center. They grow best in well-lit areas, but try to avoid direct sun or hot lights. They enjoy moist, well-drained soil. You want to water them when the soil is dry to the touch. And misting is another option if you want to try to prolong that color and lifespan of your poinsettia. And if you're not familiar with the UF poinsettia sale, they do have one annually. I do not have the date for this year, but I can provide that in a follow-up if anyone is interested. Last year they had over 40 varieties. I had no idea that poinsettias came in that many varieties, but I looked through the pictures and there are some absolute gorgeous ones. So if this is something you're into, unfortunately it is in Gainesville, but you definitely get the pick of the litter and all kinds of varieties. It's something pretty neat. But I can get additional information on that if anyone is interested. Next, we have the rosemary topiary. This is a great gift for any level of gardener. They're easy to take care of. They're attractive and they smell nice. Plus, you don't have to worry if anyone ingests them. They do enjoy their soil on the dry side. So you want to think about that foil that's usually wrapped around it. You may want to take that off. I know it usually looks prettier, but it may be keeping too much water in the plant. This is a great plant to put into your landscape once the season is over. If you decide you want to put it outside, this is one I recommend growing outside. It does great outside in full sunlight. And it does like good soil drainage. So this is one example of an indoor plant that you could put outside, and it does great in Florida. And finally, we have the Christmas cactus. It likes bright and direct light. You want to only water it when the soil is dry to the touch, like many of our other plants. They do enjoy being a little root bound. So like the other cactuses that we talked about, they like to have their roots nice and tight in that pot. So you want to think about keeping a pot that's a little bit on the smaller side that you might think it's a little too small, but they actually do prefer that. And a neat thing is if you prune them, it'll encourage branching and flowers. And I know I have a couple and they're a little bit delicate and those little segments come off, and it's real easy to take that and propagate them, and you can make more and more and more plants. So it's pretty neat. And they do come in a variety of colors like red, rose, purple, lavender, peach, orange, cream, and white. So that is a great option as well. And with that, we are at question time if we have any of those. I do not see any in the chat. Feel free to put a question in the chat, or if you, I think you have the ability to unmute yourself if you'd prefer to ask a question out loud. Is that?
Yes, you can definitely unmute yourself.
Okay. So there's an option.
Hey, Melissa, what the poinsettia, so is it grown from the, who did that, who are them?
Is it grown from what? I'm sorry.
Who, I don't remember what was on the slide. Who was it that you got the poinsettia, that you're talking about the poinsettia?
Oh, the University of Florida, they grow them.
So they grow them, oh, because the reason I'm asking is last year, when we try to order flowers and poinsettias from multiple flower shops, they told us no, they weren't growing last year. I mean, multiple places told us.
I don't think they provide to everyone. I think they pretty much sell locally in Gainesville. I know that they sell with it, like in-house, we'll say. They have their own garden center, and you can go. They have a certain couple of days you're able to go, and I think you can even pre-order from them.
Oh, okay. I just thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Are most of the indoor plants cat friendly other than the two you mentioned? That is a great question, and I am not positive, so I do not want to give you a yay or nay for sure on that. I do have a great resource. I think, Jane, do we usually send out resources after?
Yeah, I can if you have some.
Absolutely. Okay, I have a great resource that's through the ASPCA that talks about different indoor plants and which ones are cat, dog friendly, etc. So I will make sure I get that to Jane, and we will get that out. I will also try to find out the poinsettia sale through the University of Florida in case anyone is interested in that. I'll have that sent out as well. Let me make a note.
And you can check with Flower-Rama that's up on Drew Street. They sell those cactus flower pots, and I just bought one, and it has like 4 different kind of cactuses in it. And my mom's cat, it doesn't bother my cat to cat. So whatever ones they got, it seems to work.
It's good to know. They're all cactuses, you said?
Yeah, they're like 4 different ones, and it's on like in a round pot.
Oh, neat.
In a planter, and she leaves it right out in the living room, and the cat doesn't seem to be bothered by it, or doesn't get after it either.
Oh, well, very good. I know I have a couple plants, mostly succulents, and the cat doesn't seem to bother those either. So that's an option, but I want to make sure I give you the correct information because I'd hate for something to happen to your cat. Yeah. So let me get that plant list for you, and I'll get it to Jane, and she can send it out after. Anyone else? If not, that is quite all right. I've got some resources that I will make sure I get sent out to everyone. And with that, we can call it quits, and you guys can enjoy the rest of your lunch because I'm sure you're on lunch right now. And I appreciate you joining me. I hope you learned a few things, and maybe you'll give some plants this year as a gift. If not, go out and buy one for yourself because plants are wonderful to have around, and they really do spruce up your office. If you're in the Parks building, please come by. I will show you my pothos. It's out of control. I'll even give you a little clipping if you want.
Ooh, bonus. Excellent. All right, well, thanks so much, Melissa. This was a really fun one. I love that you have gift ideas here. Very pertinent to the season. Yep. For all the loved ones on your list. All right, well, thanks everyone for joining us. I will be sharing more resources with you. If you could give me till tomorrow, that would be awesome. I will try to get it out today, but I promise tomorrow at least, at the latest. All right, well, thanks everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.